Welcome to a story that's not just about copper and cents, but about the mysterious, fascinating, and sometimes wildly valuable world of coin collecting. Today, we journey deep into the story of one of the most talked about coins in numismatic circles, the 1981 cent coin, better known to many as the humble penny. But is it really so humble? Or does this small copper disc carry secrets and hidden fortunes beyond the imagination? Sit back, relax, and prepare to look at pocket change in a way you never have before. The year 1980 was an era of transition. Economically, politically, even culturally, the world was changing, and so was coinage. The 1981 cent coin, minted in the United States, is a prime example of a coin that at first glance seems utterly common, completely ordinary, perhaps even unremarkable. Yet to collectors, to historians, to the trained eye of a numismatist, this single cent can hold extraordinary value. The first thing we need to understand is the sheer volume in which these coins were produced. In 1980 alone, over 12 billion 1-cent coins were minted across three major U.S. mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 7.4 billion coins, Denver contributed approximately 5.1 billion, and San Francisco, largely known for proof coins, minted over 3 million. These numbers seem overwhelming. How could anything so abundant ever be worth more than face value, let alone millions? That's where the fascinating world of coin variation and error comes in. Let's first take a moment to consider what this coin physically is. The 1980 penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs exactly 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. The coin's edge is plain, not reeded like a dime or a quarter, and its shape is a perfect circle. The obverse, what you might call the head's side, features the ever-familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln. This iconic image has been used on the U.S. 1-cent coin since 1909, making it one of the longest-running obverse designs in American coinage. The bust of Lincoln faces right, a stoic and dignified profile designed by Victor David Brenner, whose initials, VDB, appear subtly at the bottom of Lincoln's shoulder. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left of the profile is the word "Liberty," and to the right, the date, 1980. Now here's where some magic begins. If you look closely at the date, you may notice a small letter beneath it. That's the mint mark. No mark indicates Philadelphia. A D means Denver. An S means San Francisco. While all mint marks are essential in understanding a coin's origin, it is the variations, the minting errors, and the unintentional oddities that give rise to immense collector value. Coins with double die errors, where the die used to strike the coin hits the metal twice slightly off-center, are among the most sought after. The result is visible doubling on the date, the lettering, or other features. These errors can command prices well into the thousands, but there's a deeper mystery when we talk about the legendary $98 million penny. Could a coin from 1980 really be worth that much? In most cases, no. But in the rarest instances, collectors and wealthy investors chase legendary one-of-a-kind errors that become something akin to artwork, priceless because of their rarity, their provenance, and the stories attached to them. Several internet myths have emerged around a 1981 cent coin reportedly valued at $98 million. While these stories are often exaggerated or misinterpreted, they are usually rooted in a real numismatic anomaly. For instance, in extremely rare cases, coins have been struck on the wrong planchet, the blank metal disc used to mint a coin. A 1980 penny struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank can become an ultra-rare error coin, and such coins have fetched extraordinary prices at auction. Is $98 million a realistic number? In most professional numismatist circles, the answer is no. However, rare examples of coins from other years, like the 1943 bronze penny, have sold for over $1 million due to their extreme rarity. The buzz around the 1980 penny may be hyperbole, but it's not entirely without precedent. When we look deeper into the coin's design, it becomes apparent why the Lincoln cent remains so enduring. The reverse side, until 2008, bore the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. It's a fitting tribute to the 16th president, featuring a small but clearly visible seated Lincoln inside the memorial itself, making it one of the only coins to depict the same person on both sides. The inscription, United States of America, arcs across the top, with De Pluribus Unum just beneath it, Latin for, out of many, one. At the bottom, of course, is the denomination, 1 cent. But coins are more than metal. They are pieces of history, living artifacts of their time. The 1980 penny represents an America transitioning from the inflation-ridden 1970s into the economic conservatism of the Reagan era. It was a year when personal computers were starting to enter the mainstream, when Mount St. Helens erupted in Washington, and when the Rubik's Cube was taking the world by storm. Coins, like all currency, reflect the spirit of their age. And so the 1981 cent piece is both a product of industrial precision and a relic of a pivotal historical moment. The materials used to mint these coins were significant too. As copper prices began to rise in the early 1980s, the U.S. Mint faced pressure to reduce the metal content in pennies. By 1982, the composition of the 1 cent coin changed to 97.5% zinc with just a thin copper plating, reducing weight and cost. So, the 1980 penny marks the end of an era, one of the last years of full copper content. That alone gives it a certain nostalgic and material value. Many collectors prioritize these pre-1982 copper cents for their intrinsic metal value as well. With copper trading at high prices, the melt value of a 1980 penny can exceed 1 cent, although melting pennies for metal content remains illegal in the United States. Still, bulk buyers and enthusiasts often hoard these coins, speculating that policy or market conditions might one day make melting viable. But let's return to the mystique of rare coins. Why would someone pay tens of thousands, or in theory, tens of millions, for a single 1980 penny? It comes down to rarity, condition, provenance, and error type. A 1980 penny in pristine condition, graded MS 67 or higher by a recognized grading service like PCGS or NGC, might be worth several $100s. Add a rare minting error, like a double die obverse, an off-center strike, or a transitional metal mistake, and suddenly, that same coin could be worth thousands. If a coin is truly unique, say, the only known example of a certain type, then its value becomes whatever a collector is willing to pay. In auctions, competitive bidding between wealthy collectors can skyrocket prices far beyond the coin's intrinsic or historical value. The rumor of a $98 million penny might be linked to such speculative buying or a particularly sensationalized auction report. Even if it's not grounded in a sale that actually took place, it serves as a powerful reminder. In the world of collectibles, perception often creates value. As with art, wine, and sports memorabilia, rarity combined with desire creates markets where prices can soar beyond rational limits. Of course, you could search through thousands of pennies and never find a rare one. But imagine finding a 1980 penny struck on a foreign planchet, with a mirror-like proof surface from the wrong mint, or a dramatic die clash that creates ghost-like images on the coin. Imagine discovering a coin with both double die errors and an off-center strike, preserved in mint state for 45 years. In such a case, you might just have a one-of-a-kind treasure, and in the coin world, one-of-a-kind can mean 7 figures. To hold a coin like that in your hand is to touch history, metallurgy, craftsmanship, and chance, all at once. That's the magic of numismatics. The 1980 penny may not be as ancient as Roman denarii or as luxurious as a gold doubloon, but it carries its own legend. Every time a penny changes hands, it continues its story. Perhaps it's lying unnoticed in your change jar or tucked away in an old coffee can in the attic. Perhaps it's buried in the folds of a couch or waiting in an old cash register drawer. Every one of those coins is a mystery waiting to be discovered, a story waiting to be told, and this is just the beginning of the tale of the 1980 penny. There's so much more to unravel, from coin grading and authentication, to the economics of copper and minting policy, to the role of social media and modern internet myth-making in catapulting ordinary objects into viral fame. In the next part of this journey, we'll explore even more incredible facts, break down real auction data, and investigate how to tell if your penny might just be one of the rare few worth life-changing money. Now that we've established a baseline understanding of the 1980 penny, its design, materials, historical context, and standard minting, we move further into the labyrinth of detail that separates an ordinary coin from a legendary one. While tens of billions of these pennies were produced, the key to understanding extraordinary value lies not in the coin's commonality, but in its exceptionality. And that's where things get far more interesting. Let's start with the idea of error coins. It's a term thrown around in numismatic communities like a badge of honor, but for the uninitiated, it may seem counterintuitive. Why would a mistake be more valuable than a perfect coin? It's because minting errors are, by definition, rare, and in the world of collectibles, rarity is gold. An error makes a coin unique or limited in number, and serious collectors are drawn to what is uncommon, unexpected, and hard to replicate. The U.S. Mint, despite its high standards and industrial precision, is not immune to error. Especially in high-output years like 1980, when billions of coins were being pressed and shipped, mistakes happened. Dies clashed. Blanks were misfed. Foreign planchets found their way into U.S. minting machines. Double strikes occurred. The result: coins that look visibly different, either subtly or dramatically, from what they were supposed to be. The most famous errors are the so-called double die coins. In these cases, a die, the hardened metal stamp used to strike the coin, is imprinted twice at slightly different angles, creating a shadowed, doubled appearance on letters, numbers, or images. This is not the same as a machine doubling, which is more common and far less valuable. A true double die is a result of a flaw in the die itself, not the striking process. The 1955 double die Lincoln cent is the most well-known example, with its bold, ghostly duplication on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." Though not as dramatic, double die examples have also been confirmed for the 1980 penny, particularly in the Denver minted coins. These variations can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars depending on their clarity and condition. An MS-66 or MS-67 grade double die 1980 D penny can potentially command high four-figure values at auction, but double dies are just the beginning. The error types that could elevate a 1980 penny's value to astonishing heights include off-center strikes, where the coin is not correctly aligned with the die and ends up with an incomplete, crescent-shaped design. The more off-center the strike, the more valuable the coin, up to a point. If too much is missing, it can reduce recognizability and, thus, value. Then there are coins struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine a 1980 penny that was accidentally struck on a dime-sized planchet or, more mysteriously, on a blank meant for a foreign coin. These kinds of mismatched metal and size combinations are exceedingly rare and instantly valuable. Coins struck on a nickel planchet, for example, will appear a silvery gray rather than copper red, and their dimensions will differ slightly. A few documented examples exist, and these have fetched tens of thousands at high-end auctions. It's this category of rare anomaly that contributes to the mythos of a coin reaching astronomical values, perhaps even the oft-cited and controversial $98 million figure that circulates in rumors and clickbait articles. Whether fact or fiction, these stories reflect the intensity of interest and imagination surrounding numismatics. To really understand why a coin like this might be worth millions, though, you must understand how the coin is graded. Enter the world of professional coin grading, where seemingly identical coins are ranked, rated, and authenticated with scientific precision. The top two professional coin grading companies are PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Each coin they certify is evaluated on a 70-point scale known as the Sheldon Scale, named after Dr. William H. Sheldon. At the low end is a grade of 1, essentially a barely identifiable coin that has been severely worn. At the top is 70, representing a perfect, mint-state coin with no post-production marks visible even under magnification. For collectors seeking top-dollar returns, only the uppermost tiers, mint state, MS, coins graded 65 and above, are truly desirable. A 1980 penny graded MS-65 might fetch $25 to $100 depending on the mint mark. Raise that to MS-67 or MS-68, and the price could surge to $500, $1,000, or more. The number of surviving coins in such flawless condition is extremely low, and when population reports from PCGS or NGC reveal that only a handful of examples exist at the top tier, the scarcity drives up the price further. Now, suppose that you have not only an MS-67 1980 D penny, but one with a recognized double die or off-metal strike. Suddenly, your coin is no longer just rare, it's unique. It's no longer just collectible, it's historic. And if that coin were to be offered at a public auction where elite collectors and investors gather, the bidding war could reach levels that defy expectation. That's how stories are born. A $98 million penny may not yet have been sold, but when rare coins have sold for $1.7 million, $4.1 million, and even $10 million in certain cases, particularly gold coins, ancient rarities, or uncirculated errors, there's reason to believe that the right 1980 era penny in pristine condition could shatter previous benchmarks. And so people search. They search old piggy banks. They dig through change jars. They examine every detail with magnifying glasses and loupes, chasing what might be a once-in-a-lifetime find. Some even buy bulk bags of unsearched pennies by the thousands, hoping to uncover a hidden gem missed by others. This hobby, this passion, has become its own culture. Online marketplaces like eBay are flooded with listings for 1980 pennies claiming extreme values. Many of these are optimistic, sometimes laughably so, with listings asking $5,000 for a regular circulated coin. But occasionally, buried among the noise, are coins of real significance. A careful, educated buyer can spot these rarities. And for those who learn the true nuances, die markers, strike types, grading characteristics, the potential to find undervalued coins is a real one. And let's not forget the psychological side of this coin chase. Humans are drawn to treasure. We are wired to search, to dream, to believe that maybe, just maybe, we'll be the one to discover a forgotten masterpiece. In that way, the 1980 penny becomes more than just currency. It becomes a ticket to fantasy. A link between everyday life and unimaginable reward. It's why stories of the $98 million penny persist. They tap into something deeper than economics. They tap into the idea that something so small, so overlooked, could hold within it the chance to change everything. Of course, you don't need millions to start collecting. That's part of the beauty of the hobby. You can begin with pocket change, slowly learning the details of dates, mint marks, weights, metal content, and design variations. Every coin you hold tells a story, not just of minting and circulation, but of the hands it passed through, the pockets it lived in, the stores it was spent in. The 1980 penny may seem like just one of many, but to the trained eye, every coin has potential. So how can you tell if you have a rare 1980 penny? First, examine the mint mark. Is it a standard D or no mark for Philadelphia? Or is it an S for San Francisco, perhaps a proof coin that escaped into circulation? Then look at the date and the words for doubling. Use a magnifier and check for shadows or splits on the lettering. Check the weight, does it match the standard 3.11 grams, or is it lighter or heavier, suggesting a planchet error? Examine the color and tone. A copper coin struck on a nickel or steel planchet will appear entirely different. Check the edges for signs of clipping, irregular shape, or damage that might not be post-mint. And if you find something truly suspicious, something that doesn't match the official minting standards, consult an expert or submit the coin to a grading service. The fees might be worth it if your coin is a contender for historical status. While you may never hold a $98 million penny in your hand, the dream is real. And more importantly, the education, the history, the thrill of the hunt, those things are always within reach. For some, the 1980 penny is just a coin. For others, it's the key to unlocking a lifelong passion, a symbol of curiosity, or a hidden door to potential wealth. In a world increasingly driven by digital currency and contactless payments, the humble penny may one day disappear entirely. But until then, it remains not just a tool of commerce, but a window into our collective past, and perhaps, for the lucky few, a golden opportunity disguised as copper. As we continue our exploration of the 1981-cent coin, the surface story starts to fall away, and what's left is a deeper appreciation of the dynamics that elevate this tiny, copper-toned object into something with potential value far exceeding its humble origin. It's easy to dismiss the penny. It's arguably the least respected form of American currency, often disregarded, dropped, or left behind on counters, in drive-through trays, at the bottoms of pockets and purses. But in this very dismissal lies its secret. Because when everyone else overlooks something, those who pay attention gain the advantage. That's true in investing, in art, and most certainly in coin collecting. The 1980 penny stands at the edge of modern numismatics, a coin recent enough to be familiar, yet old enough to carry the marks of a different era. It's this balance that makes it such fertile ground for mystery, speculation, and genuine discovery. Let's dig deeper into the psychological and economic drivers that feed the legend of this coin. The idea that a coin worth 1 cent could be worth $98 million feels absurd at first. It sounds like the kind of made-up nonsense that circulates on click-hungry websites or social media. But myths like these don't appear out of nowhere. They're often seeded by fragments of truth, amplified by imagination, and fed by the human desire to believe in buried treasure. There are indeed coins, though exceedingly rare, that have approached or exceeded the $1 million mark. These include 1794 flowing hair silver dollars, 1933 St. Gaudens double eagles, and certain era coins that exist in populations of one. One coin. One known specimen. That is the key to 7- or 8-figure coin sales. And when you enter the world of error coinage and mint anomalies, the possibility, however unlikely, of finding a one-of-a-kind piece is not zero. So what kinds of anomalies could elevate a 1980 penny to mythic status? Beyond the previously mentioned double die errors, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet issues, there are even more obscure possibilities. Die caps, where the coin blank sticks to the die and imprints a soft, ghost-like second coin. Brockage, where a struck coin gets stuck in the press and imprints its reversed image into the next blank. Multiple strikes, where the coin is hit more than once in a skewed position. Misaligned dies, rotated dies, and die clashes, all can result in strange, surreal patterns that collectors find irresistible. One can imagine a 1980 penny accidentally struck using a proof die, or with a rare combination of errors never seen before. Even more tantalizing is the concept of transitional errors, coins minted with metal compositions from the wrong year. For instance, suppose a 1980 penny was struck using a 1982 copper-plated zinc planchet, or vice versa. Or perhaps a blank from a foreign coin minting batch was fed into the machine, creating a hybrid coin that doesn't conform to any standard. Such a coin, authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service, would not just be valuable, it would be historic. Unique. And in the world of high-end coin collecting, uniqueness is the currency of kings. But let's pause for a moment and consider what happens when rarity meets desire. That's when the coin world spills into the broader economy. Major auctions at houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections attract more than just hobbyists. These events draw investors, hedge funds, museums, and even international buyers with deep pockets and a taste for tangible, portable wealth. Coins, unlike real estate or stock portfolios, can cross borders easily. They can be insured, locked away, or displayed as both art and history. And when a legendary coin enters the market, particularly one previously unseen or unknown, it creates a ripple effect. Media covers it. Forums explode. Collectors reevaluate their holdings. Prices rise. The simple act of discovery changes the landscape. It's happened before. The first discovery of a 1969 double die penny caused a frenzy. The first known 1943 copper penny rocked the coin world, with copies selling for over $1 million each. These moments are lightning in a bottle, but they're not fantasy. They're rare, yes. But they're real. And every collector, new or seasoned, chases that moment. Which brings us back to the 1980 penny. It is, quite possibly, the most overlooked coin of its era. With so many minted, it flies under the radar. And yet, precisely because of that volume, there is a statistical possibility that among those billions lies one coin with a combination of errors, conditions, or characteristics that no other coin possesses. That's where the dreams of $98 million are born, not in fiction, but in possibility, and here's another dimension that drives up value: condition rarity. As time goes on, uncirculated coins from 1980 become harder and harder to find. Most pennies from that era were spent, touched, scratched, damaged, dropped. They developed carbon spots, discoloration, and contact marks from jostling in jars and registers. So when a pristine, untouched 1980 penny appears, especially with red color and full luster, it becomes part of a much smaller club. Coins are graded not just by error but by surface preservation. A mint state 67 red coin is already rare. If it carries a known error, it becomes valuable. And if it is one of a kind in the grading population, with no equals above or beside it, the value can spiral upwards with ease. Some collectors don't just want rare, they want the best. The highest graded example. The Pop 1, None Finer, coin. These coins are trophies, bragging rights, and legacy pieces. People pay extraordinary sums for these titles. Now, let's talk about copper. The composition of the 1980 penny, 95% copper, 5% zinc, has real-world value. As of current metal prices, the melt value of a single pre-1982 penny often exceeds 1 cent, hovering around 2 to 3 cents depending on copper market conditions. While melting pennies is still prohibited by U.S. law, this hasn't stopped collectors from accumulating pre-1982 coins in bulk. Some even hoard them in barrels, betting on a future policy shift that would allow melting, or at the very least, create a secondary market for their metal content. The 1980 penny is part of this movement. It represents not just collectible value but resource value. That adds another layer to its appeal: tangible material worth that underpins the numismatic speculation. Another compelling aspect is the international market. American coins, especially iconic ones like the Lincoln cent, have appeal well beyond U.S. borders. Collectors in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East actively participate in high-end coin auctions. The Lincoln penny is one of the most recognizable coins globally, making rare examples, even from the 1980s, a viable asset on the global stage. If a unique error or ultra-high-grade 1980 penny were to surface, it would not be limited to an American audience. It would enter a worldwide collector ecosystem, increasing demand and, potentially, the price. The psychology of value is also key here. When a coin is believed to be rare, it becomes rare. Perception creates markets. That's why stories of the $98 million penny, no matter how inflated, hold weight. They feed interest. They bring new eyes into the hobby. They make people care about what might otherwise be dismissed as trivia. They open the door for renewed excitement in numismatics. In this way, every legend has its utility, even the myth creates a real impact. Collectors start digging through rolls. Kids ask their grandparents to see old change jars. Estate sales are combed through with new scrutiny. And in the process, other valuable coins are found. The entire community thrives on this cycle of belief, discovery, and rediscovery. That's the hidden economy behind coin collecting, an ecosystem fueled by history, desire, and attention to detail. The 1980 penny is not just a coin. It's a mirror of everything we value: rarity, beauty, history, mystery, and the ever-alluring hope of striking it rich through patience and knowledge. It represents how the mundane can become magical. How something as ordinary as a cent can transform into a legend whispered about in forums and auction houses, displayed behind glass at elite collector shows, or discussed in videos like this one, where the hunt continues not with maps or treasure chests, but with eyes, loupe, and light. The deeper we go into the mystery of the 1980 penny, the more we begin to realize that this isn't just a story about one year, one mint, or one metal composition. It's a window into the vast, nuanced world of coinage, a subject that seems at first glance to be simple but quickly unfolds into layers of science, art, economics, politics, and human behavior. A coin, especially one like the 1981 cent piece, is both a product and a mirror. It reflects its time, the system that created it, and the public that used it. But what makes it different, what allows a coin like this to rise from spare change to museum-worthy artifact, is the fusion of anomaly and awareness. Without either, it's just another penny. Let's talk more deeply about the physical and aesthetic characteristics of this coin. The surface, the luster, the edges, the fields, the devices. These are terms every serious collector learns early on. The devices refer to the raised elements on a coin, like Lincoln's portrait or the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The fields are the flat background areas. When a coin is minted sharply and preserved well, the contrast between these two becomes stark and beautiful. Collectors prize coins with clean fields, no blemishes, full steps, and crisp devices. The higher the detail, especially in areas like Lincoln's jawline or the columns of the memorial, the higher the grade and value, but time is not kind to coins. Even sitting in a drawer or coin roll, tiny abrasions, dust particles, moisture, and temperature changes degrade the surface. That's why finding a 1980 penny with full red luster, unblemished surfaces, and sharp details is rare. Red copper is especially vulnerable. The natural reddish shine seen in newly minted copper coins oxidizes quickly, turning brown. Grading companies distinguish between red, RD, red-brown, RB, and brown, BN, tones, with red being the most valuable. A 1980 penny in mint state red, especially with no carbon spots or discoloration, is a visual treat, and a numismatic gem. Now let's get into provenance. This is a concept often discussed in art collecting but equally important in the coin world. Provenance is the story of ownership. It's the documented history of where a coin has been, who has owned it, and how it has changed hands. A coin with famous provenance, perhaps once owned by a legendary collector, housed in a well-known collection, or featured in a celebrated auction, automatically carries a higher value. The coin becomes more than a rare object, it becomes a historical artifact. A 1980 penny that has never been seen before but is introduced to the market with a documented error, pristine grading, and immediate media coverage could instantly develop provenance. The moment it sells in a top-tier auction or is profiled in a collector magazine, it steps into the realm of the elite. Consider the psychology behind auctions. When a coin like this appears, the emotional energy in the room, or online auction platform, is palpable. Two or more bidders who deeply want to own a piece of numismatic history begin to escalate their offers, not because the object's intrinsic value justifies the price, but because ownership becomes symbolic. It's not just about what the coin is worth, it's about what it means to win it. This is how prices balloon into hundreds of thousands or millions. And this is how a penny can become a record-breaking sale. Collectors don't just buy coins, they buy stories. And the story behind a 1980 penny could be more compelling than any other. A coin minted in massive numbers, virtually ignored for decades, only to reveal a single example with a bizarre, unmatched error. Perhaps it was a planchet mix-up, perhaps it was a mule coin struck with a die from another denomination. Maybe it was created late at night at a mint facility by mistake, or on purpose, and slipped into circulation unnoticed. These are the stories that fire the imagination of collectors and light up the auction blocks. And what if that coin has never been found yet? What if it's still out there, in a coin roll on a dusty shelf, in a forgotten piggy bank, or mixed into the daily change drawer of a small-town diner? That possibility alone has motivated thousands of amateur treasure hunters to take up numismatics. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, about possibility. The value of a coin like this is not fixed, it's floating, determined by interest, hype, rarity, and timing. In a red-hot collectibles market, a perfectly timed auction of a unique 1980 penny could break records, especially if media and influencers get involved. In today's world, a single viral post can multiply a coin's perceived value overnight. This brings us to the role of technology. In the past, discovering and evaluating coins required years of study, access to obscure reference books, and connections with seasoned collectors. Now, with high-resolution photography, online databases, and AI-based grading tools, even newcomers can examine their coins with a level of detail that would have been impossible in the past. Apps can now analyze photos of a coin and give rough grading estimates. Forums allow instant feedback. Social media spreads news of new finds in real time. This has democratized the hunt. The next $1 million penny might be found not by a professional numismatist, but by a teenager with a phone and a good eye. The most thrilling part is that it's still out there. As of now, no known 1980 penny has sold for anywhere near $98 million. But neither has one been authenticated with a perfect storm of grade, error, uniqueness, provenance, and publicity. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Because as long as these coins exist, and as long as human curiosity and passion endure, someone, somewhere will find the piece that changes everything. Coins like the 1980 penny remind us that incredible value doesn't always come from rarity alone. It comes from narrative, from condition, from timing, and from the way we as a society choose to elevate certain objects to iconic status. Think of how many times you've passed over pennies, thinking they're worthless. Now imagine if just one of them, the one you didn't look twice at, was the one worth not just thousands or millions, but potentially one of the most valuable small coins ever discovered. And that's not just a theory. It's a possibility grounded in history. Coins from less notable years and lower mintages have crossed the $1 million mark. Unique combinations of factors, a misprint, an overstrike, a unique metal blend, can vault a coin into legend. Even a 1982 small date copper penny, mistakenly struck in a transitional year, has sold for over $18,000. That wasn't a hoax. That was real, and the 1980 penny? It's just waiting for its story to be completed. There may be thousands, millions of them. But all it takes is one. One with the right error. One with the perfect preservation. One with the exact combination of conditions never before seen. One coin. One moment. One person who notices. It could be you. It could be a viewer of this video. It could be tomorrow, and when that coin is found, documented, authenticated, and introduced to the world, it will no longer be a penny. It will be a chapter in history, a headline, a treasure. So don't underestimate the common. Don't ignore the small things. Because in the world of numismatics, the smallest things often carry the biggest stories, and sometimes, the biggest rewards. The world of coins isn't just about shiny metal and neatly struck portraits. It's about trust. It's about confirmation. It's about certainty in a world filled with unknowns. When someone discovers a coin they suspect to be rare, their journey is only just beginning. Because the most important step, the step that turns a maybe into a milestone, is authentication. That's where grading comes in. And if you're sitting with a 1980 penny that seems special, unusual, or potentially valuable, submitting it to a grading service is the key to unlocking its real worth. Coin grading is a science, but also an art. It requires expertise, precision, and a standardized system that the entire numismatic world can rely on. The process begins with submission. A collector, hobbyist, or treasure hunter carefully prepares their coin, ensuring it's protected in a safe, secure holder, often a 2x2 cardboard flip or a capsule designed to prevent scratches, moisture, and contact with skin oils. Then comes the choice of grading service. The top two are PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Both are recognized globally and offer transparent, respected, and consistent evaluations of coins based on a standardized scale. Once received, the coin is evaluated by multiple graders, experts who inspect the surface, edges, fields, devices, mint marks, color, strike, and more. They examine the coin under magnification and in different lighting conditions, looking for any signs of alteration, cleaning, damage, or post-mint contact. They use reference guides, known markers, and years of experience to determine not only the grade of the coin but whether it qualifies for special designations. A high-grade coin with full red luster, clean surfaces, and a notable error, such as a double die or off-metal strike, may be flagged as a candidate for the finest known registry sets, increasing its market value exponentially. Once graded, the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-proof plastic slab with a certification number and barcode, making it trackable, insurable, and tradable on the open market. This authentication not only protects the coin, it also protects its value. Because without a grade from PCGS or NGC, even the most spectacular-looking coin will raise eyebrows and doubts. A $50,000 or $100,000 coin must have trust behind it. And trust comes from certification. Now imagine your 1980 penny returns from the grading company as a mint state 68 red with a dramatic double die obverse, and it's the only one like it ever discovered. The population report lists it as one known. The error is visible and dramatic, the preservation nearly flawless, and the strike quality impeccable. This is no longer a curiosity. It's a sensation. Collectors will line up to own the first, or only, or finest example of such a coin. Auction houses will compete to handle its sale. Coin news websites will cover it. YouTube channels will analyze it. The legend becomes reality, but here's the twist. Many people never send their coins in. They think it's a waste of time. Or too expensive. Or they simply don't know what to look for. So they hold on to coins without knowing they're sitting on thousands, tens of thousands, or more. Education is the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $50,000 one. Knowing what to look for, mint marks, die characteristics, weight anomalies, color, strike errors, changes everything. And that's why stories like this matter. They spark the process. Let's go back to weight. The standard 1980 penny, as we've discussed, weighs 3.11 grams. That's the expected weight for a 95% copper, 5% zinc planchet used at the time. But if your coin weighs significantly less, say, 2.5 grams, it may have been struck on a zinc-based planchet that wasn't officially introduced until 1982. Or it may have been struck on a dime planchet. Or a foreign blank. These weight anomalies can be subtle, tenths of a gram, but to the trained eye, they stand out. A digital scale accurate to 0.01 grams is a small investment for anyone serious about coin hunting. It helps you detect the first signs of value. Combine that with a strong magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, and you've got yourself the beginnings of a treasure detection toolkit. And then there's the microscope. Many modern collectors use digital microscopes connected to computers or smartphones to photograph, document, and analyze coins. Under magnification, tiny anomalies become visible, doubling, cracks, clashes, and microerrors invisible to the naked eye. Many famous varieties were discovered this way. Everyday collectors find new varieties every year that later become recognized and listed in major references like the Red Book or the Cherry Picker's Guide. This means the story of the 1980 penny is still being written. New discoveries are possible. Not just theoretically, but actively, right now, and if we look at history, the pattern is clear. Rare coins are found all the time, not by institutions, but by individuals. A woman sorting laundry change discovers a rare transitional error. A man opening a box of pennies from the bank finds a dramatic double die. A young collector at a coin show trades for a common-looking coin that turns out to be one of a kind. These aren't just anecdotes, they are proof that the numismatic world is alive, unpredictable, and accessible to anyone who takes the time to learn. there is also something to be said about the evolution of value. A coin discovered today, authenticated tomorrow, may not reach its full value until years later. As public awareness grows, so does demand. As registry sets develop, collectors compete to own the finest examples. A coin worth $10,000 today might be worth $75,000 in a decade. The 1980 penny is still young enough to be abundant, but old enough to contain secrets. It is right in the sweet spot where value begins to accelerate. And with copper prices in flux and historical interest growing in 20th century coinage, the conditions are right for a value explosion. Let's also consider the symbolism. The penny represents the most overlooked coin in circulation. It's the lowest denomination, the one most often discarded. And yet, within that very category lies the greatest surprise. It's a powerful metaphor, the idea that something small, seemingly worthless, might hide immense value. It resonates beyond coins. It's a story of patience, of seeing what others miss, of finding treasure in plain sight. That's why so many people love this hobby. It's not just about money, it's about perspective. It's about redemption. It's about the thrill of discovery. So the next time you see a penny on the ground, stop. Pick it up. Look at it. Check the year. Feel its weight. Notice the color. Examine the details. Is there doubling? Is the mint mark off? Is the design clear? Could it be a transitional metal? Could it be something no one else has noticed? That's the excitement. That's the game. That's the reward. The 1980 penny, though minted in the billions, remains a legend in waiting. Its legacy is still unfolding. Somewhere out there, a coin exists that defies expectations. One that combines perfect condition with dramatic error. One that has never been seen by collectors, never been graded, never been recognized. When that coin surfaces, everything changes. Not just for the owner, but for the entire hobby. It will reframe how we see the 1980 cent. It will challenge assumptions. It will be a turning point in modern numismatic history, and whether that coin sells for $10,000, $100,000, or even approaches the mythical $98 million number, it will be a triumph. A victory for observation, curiosity, patience, and knowledge. Until then, the story continues. 1 cent at a time. The United States Mint is a machine of precision, tradition, and controlled chaos. It operates like a factory, yet underneath the hum of presses and conveyor belts, the mint is also a stage where rare events, tiny miscalculations, mechanical hiccups, or human errors, can create legends. When we talk about the 1981 cent coin, we're not just talking about a year. We're talking about a moment in this massive industrial system where a single tiny metal disc might have slipped through the cracks and come out the other end as a modern miracle. In 1980, the United States Mint had 3 key facilities involved in producing 1 cent coins: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each had its role. Philadelphia was the workhorse, churning out billions of circulation coins. Denver, too, pushed high-volume production, but with different minting dies. San Francisco was the quiet genius in the background, producing proofs, mirror-like coins made with special care for collectors. But even proof coins can find their way into circulation. And when they do, the combination of high detail and accidental release creates immediate buzz. Imagine a proof 1980s penny, struck with a high-relief die and mirror-like field, accidentally finding its way into circulation. Not only is it rare, it's practically a ghost. And yet, it has happened. Not often, but enough that collectors keep their eyes peeled for these elusive glimmers of unintended beauty. Now add to that the vast movement of coins across the nation, truckloads of unsearched coins delivered to banks, stored in vaults, boxed in bags, lost in warehouses. This is the beginning of the coin hoard phenomenon. Coin hoards are massive, long-forgotten caches of unsearched coins, often discovered in estate sales, abandoned properties, or bank vaults. Sometimes the hoards are accidental, collections set aside by people who simply saved coins for years. Other times, they were built intentionally, driven by superstition, wariness of paper money, or simple habit. These hoards are time capsules. And occasionally, within them, lies a prize. Some of the most valuable pennies ever found came not from auctions or collectors, but from dusty bags and jars no one had opened in decades. Imagine someone in 1980 throwing rolls of brand new pennies into a safe, thinking little of it. 40 years later, their heirs stumble upon these untouched rolls, and within them, a double die error, an off-metal strike, or a perfect condition MS-68 red penny. It happens more than you'd expect. The modern treasure hunter doesn't use a map or a metal detector, they use patience, magnification, and knowledge. This brings us to the modern myth-making around coins. In recent years, the internet has exploded with stories of ultra-rare pennies fetching unimaginable prices, sometimes exaggerated, sometimes misunderstood, but often based on a kernel of truth. The infamous $98 million penny story may not be verified by any auction house, but it taps into the core emotion of the collector's soul. What if? What if it's real? What if mine is the one? It's this psychological cocktail of skepticism, hope, and fantasy that drives coin culture forward. It's the same mechanism that drove people to collect Beanie Babies, Pokemon cards, NFTs, and rare sneakers, but with coins, there's history behind every piece. A coin isn't a trend. It's a certified artifact of national production. And the penny, despite its lowly denomination, is one of the most storied and collectible of all. Consider the Lincoln Cent series. It began in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, and it remains in production to this day. That makes it the longest-running design in American coinage history. Every year of its mintage tells a piece of the American story, from the Great Depression, through 2 world wars, into the tech boom and digital age. And yet, within that timeline, certain years stand out. 1943, when the penny was made of steel to save copper for the war effort. 1955, with its unmistakable double die. 1969, yes, whose double die obverse ignited bidding wars. 1982, with the transitional change from copper to zinc. And yes, 1980, standing right at the tipping point, holding the last breath of the copper era before the great change. In that context, the 1980 penny becomes more than just an object. It becomes a symbol. It straddles 2 realities. On one side, it's the last of its kind, a coin made of solid copper, heavy in the hand, enduring. On the other side, it's the beginning of a new era where coin composition would be dictated by economics, not permanence. That's part of what makes it so intriguing to collectors. It's both familiar and final. And it might just contain secrets we haven't uncovered yet. The best part is that you don't have to be a millionaire to get involved. Unlike rare art, vintage cars, or luxury watches, coins are still a relatively accessible form of investment and discovery. You can buy boxes of unsearched 1980 pennies by the pound. You can examine pocket change, attend coin shows, trade online. With time and curiosity, you can develop the knowledge to spot things others miss. And in that knowledge lies your power. Coin collecting isn't just for investors, it's for storytellers. Each coin has a lineage, a path, a journey through time and space. It may have passed through 1,000 hands, or sat untouched for decades. It may have left the mint with a perfect strike, or with a flaw that would one day make it famous. And the person who finds that coin, the one, will become part of that coin story forever. We live in an age where attention is currency, and authenticity is king. Coins deliver both. They are real. They are finite. And they reward those who pay attention. The 1980 penny might be the next great numismatic discovery. Or it might be waiting quietly for someone like you to find it. Either way, its journey isn't over. The value is in the search. The thrill is in the unknown. The reward is in the detail. So keep looking. Keep learning. Keep asking questions. Because while others are scrolling past digital noise, you might be holding history in your hand. A 1980 penny. A relic. A clue. A key. A chance. And maybe, just maybe, a fortune. There's a quiet current running beneath the surface of every collector's market. It shifts with trends, reacts to news, surges after discoveries, and pulls back after hype. The coin world is no exception. Over time, the value of coins doesn't just rise based on rarity or age, it rises and falls with perception, with collector sentiment, and with generational curiosity. This is how a penny minted in 1980, once deemed utterly common, can begin its transformation into something far more powerful, simply because enough people begin to ask the right questions, to look closer, to wonder. When it comes to value, the most important force isn't just rarity, it's desire. You can have a coin that's technically scarce, but if no one's looking for it, its price stagnates. Conversely, if collectors start telling stories, sharing finds, or bidding against each other for pride and prestige, the price of even a modest coin can spike overnight. This is how coins find their moment. The market evolves not just from supply, but from narrative. And today, the narrative of the 1980 penny is changing. The rise of online communities has accelerated this. Platforms like Reddit, CoinTalk, Instagram, and YouTube have created real-time spaces where discoveries are shared, opinions are formed, and sometimes, misinformation is spread. A blurry image of a coin gets posted with the claim that it's worth $25,000. Suddenly, dozens of people are checking their own change, sharing similar photos, believing they've struck it rich. But not all that glitters is gold, or even copper. And in these moments, education becomes your greatest asset. It's not uncommon for people to misidentify machine doubling as a true double die. It happens all the time. Or to believe a post-mint damage mark is a rare strike-through error. Or to trust listings on online marketplaces that claim a circulated 1980 penny is worth thousands when, in reality, it's a 1-cent coin. This is where the legends of the $98 million penny grow legs, not from truth, but from misunderstanding and wishful thinking. That doesn't mean the coin isn't valuable. But it does mean you have to know what to look for. You need tools. You need knowledge. And most of all, you need patience. This is why coin shows remain so vital. In an age dominated by screens, coin shows are one of the few places where collectors can gather face-to-face, share physical objects, inspect coins under light and magnification, and learn directly from experts. If you walk into a major show with a box of coins, you can have them appraised, compared, verified, or even submitted on the spot for grading. These are places where real legends have been born. Where a collector walks in with a pocketful of change and walks out with an authenticated error coin worth 5 figures. It doesn't happen every day, but it happens enough to keep hope alive, and even if your coin isn't a jackpot, the connections you make, the dealers, the graders, the historians, build your skill set. You begin to spot what others miss. You understand what makes a penny valuable beyond what's printed on it. You see coins not just as metal, but as miniature pieces of American history. And that changes everything. Because the person who can see that in a 1980 penny is already ahead of the game, and then there are the stories, the near misses, the what-ifs. Like the man who found a 1980 penny in pristine condition, only to clean it with a wire brush before submitting it, obliterating its value. Or the woman who discovered a penny struck on a dime planchet, but tossed it into a cash register before realizing what she had. Or the dealer who sold a batch of red mint state cents without checking for errors, only to later discover the batch contained a previously undocumented double die. These are the moments that haunt the coin world, the lost treasures, the coins that slipped through the cracks, the riches missed because someone wasn't paying attention. And every story like this sharpens the instincts of the next collector. But let's talk about preservation. Because once you find something valuable, you have to protect it. Coins, especially copper coins like the 1980 penny, are delicate. They react to air, moisture, heat, fingerprints. A high-grade red coin can slowly dull to brown over time if not stored properly. That's why collectors use archival holders, inert plastic flips, airtight capsules, and even climate-controlled vaults for their best pieces. They photograph them. They insure them. They track their provenance. Because in the world of serious collecting, a coin isn't just an item, it's an asset. And assets must be secured. Modern technology makes this easier than ever. Apps can catalog your collection, track price changes, and even give you market data. Some collectors barcode their slabs and maintain cloud databases. This isn't just hobbyist behavior anymore. It's a form of investing. Coins have joined the ranks of alternative assets, like vintage watches, rare books, and art, with returns that can outperform traditional markets in the right conditions. And the 1980 penny, quietly sitting at the intersection of history, metal, and myth, is a prime candidate for that kind of attention. But here's the real secret: you don't have to find the rarest coin to make this world matter. Even a simple, unremarkable penny can start a journey. You might find one that teaches you how to distinguish a mint mark, or how to read a grading label, or how to detect cleaning. And each step builds your expertise. That's the beauty of numismatics. It meets you wherever you are, at a beginner's table or an expert's vault, and invites you to keep going. The journey of a 1980 penny isn't just a search for wealth. It's a meditation on detail. A lesson in patience. A training ground in observation. It rewards those who take nothing for granted, who look twice, who wonder if maybe, just maybe, what they're holding isn't what it seems. And that's a powerful thing. Because in a world flooded with mass production, generic content, and digital everything, a small, physical object like a penny can still change someone's life. And somewhere out there, maybe in a forgotten safe, maybe in a bank bag, maybe in the very change jar on your nightstand, there might be a 1980 penny with a story that no one has heard yet. An error never seen. A grade never matched. A combination so unique that it redefines the value of the entire year. If that coin exists, and history tells us it very well could, then its value isn't limited by what we know today. Its value is limitless. And its discovery is only a matter of time. So hold on to that thought. Let it drive your curiosity. Let it guide your hands as you sort, study, and learn. Because the next chapter in the story of the 1981-cent coin might not be written by a professional. It might not be revealed in a museum or announced in an auction. It might be found by someone like you. There's something sacred about holding a coin that once belonged to someone else, especially if it came from a parent, a grandparent, or a figure long past. A coin carries more than metal. It carries time. It carries the fingerprints of those who once held it, the choices they made to keep it, the moments in history it passed through. In this way, coins become more than collectible, they become heirlooms. And the 1980 penny, humble as it may seem, often finds its way into these stories. There are attics full of coin jars, basements with old bank rolls taped shut for decades, safety deposit boxes filled with small coins that haven't seen daylight in 40 years. And in those places are the seeds of legacies, forgotten, overlooked, but waiting. Many collectors don't start out as collectors at all. They inherit a box, a folder, a drawer full of coins with dates and mint marks and no instruction manual. And it's in the quiet of those first discoveries that something awakens. A curiosity. A question. Why did they keep this? Was it just habit, or did they see something in this penny that others missed? That's where the journey often begins. One person's forgotten stash becomes another's treasure map. And the 1980 penny, with its copper sheen and familiar face, is often found in those hand-me-down collections. It's common enough to appear in volume, but uncommon enough, in the right condition or with the right error, to spark deeper investigation. That's how generational collectors are born. Through a single coin. Through a single story. Through a sense of inheritance, not just of wealth, but of time. Coin collectors often speak of the one that got away, the coin they sold too soon, or gave away, or lost without realizing its worth. But just as often, they speak of the coin that started it all. Maybe it was a proof coin in a velvet box. Maybe it was a mercury dime handed down in a locket. Maybe it was a 1980 penny with a strange surface, found in a drawer of scattered memories. And from that moment, a new collector was born, not because of greed, but because of the mystery. The truth is, many valuable coins are never discovered because their owners pass away before understanding what they had. Their families, rushed or overwhelmed, toss jars of change into Coinstar machines. Boxes of wheat pennies get sold for face value at garage sales. Error coins are overlooked. Mint sets are opened and spent. And just like that, history vanishes. But once in a while, someone looks closer. They take the time. They research. They weigh the coin. They inspect the surfaces. They photograph it. They post it online. And slowly, the story unfolds. What makes this more than a hobby is the realization that coin collecting is also a way of preserving legacy. Each coin is a frozen moment, an artifact that carries with it the decisions of the past. Why was this coin saved? What made it different? What kept it from being spent or melted or lost? And if it was saved intentionally, that makes it a message from the past. A statement. A whisper across generations. This is important. This meant something. The 1980 penny, for all its apparent simplicity, has become part of this legacy. It lives in albums next to older coins, protected as part of date sets. It appears in hoards passed down through families. It's found in time capsules, war chests, and sometimes in the pockets of uniforms never worn again. And every now and then, it reappears in perfect condition, or with a flaw so rare it defies explanation. And that brings us to another layer, the way the market reacts when legendary coins re-emerge after years in the dark. When an heir finds a unique coin and sends it for grading, and the results come back historic, it can shock the collecting world. Prices fluctuate. Articles are written. Auction houses scramble. Sometimes, a coin that was long assumed lost finally comes to light. Sometimes, a new variety is discovered and named after the family that found it. That is the living history of coin collecting. It's not static. It evolves. And sometimes, the story changes because of you. We've seen it happen. A previously unknown die variety of a 1980 penny discovered in a forgotten roll from a grandfather's closet. A perfectly preserved mint state 67 red example locked in a safe for 40 years and sold for a small fortune when rediscovered. A transitional metal strike found in a family member's coin folder, misidentified for decades. These are not myths. These are not guesses. These are real moments. Documented. Graded. Sold. Remembered, and the question becomes, what are you sitting on? What did your family keep, not because they knew its value, but because they felt it was worth keeping? What stories were passed down without words, through small envelopes, metal tins, paper rolls, and wooden boxes? And in those stories, what treasure lies waiting? That's what the 1980 penny represents. Not just possibility, but potential. The coin market thrives on these rediscoveries. When a new variety is documented, the market responds with energy. Collectors recheck their own holdings. Prices for similar coins rise. Interest spreads. Educational materials are updated. Auction houses place higher estimates. And through it all, the humble penny, often overlooked, often discarded, becomes the centerpiece of the numismatic world. Even more importantly, it becomes part of a human story. Of families. Of memory. Of intergenerational connection. Coins are one of the few collectibles that retain both emotional and tangible value. They are small enough to pass along discreetly, but powerful enough to tell a national story. They can outlast homes, jobs, and even names. And when a coin like a 1980 penny is pulled from obscurity and recognized for what it truly is, it becomes more than currency. It becomes a monument. So if you've inherited a collection, don't rush to sell it. Take time. Learn the language. Understand what makes one coin valuable and another ordinary. And if you find a 1980 penny that looks different, heavier, shinier, misaligned, strange, ask questions. Consult experts. Research varieties. Because that 1 cent might be the most valuable thing you own, not just for what it's worth, but for the story it carries, and if you haven't yet found that coin, keep searching. Look in old drawers, under furniture, behind frames, inside books. Coins slip through the cracks of time. And every single one tells a story. The next chapter of the 1980 penny legend could begin not with a collector, but with a descendant. Someone inheriting more than coins, someone inheriting history. In a world that moves faster every day, in a time when digital assets vanish with a swipe, and news disappears in seconds, there's something grounding about holding a coin in your hand. It doesn't need batteries. It doesn't need a login. It doesn't need permission to be touched, examined, admired. And in that simplicity, we find the core of what makes the 1980 penny so powerful. It's a relic that defies obsolescence. A survivor of inflation, economic shifts, technological revolutions, and national change. And somehow, it's still here, circulating, hiding, waiting. The digital world has changed everything, but it's also reminded us of what's real. In an era where photos can be faked, values manipulated, and rarity diluted by replicas, coins remain among the most trusted collectibles. They are measurable, tangible, confirmable. They can be weighed, tested, graded, and verified. And even in the most advanced online marketplaces, where coins are bought and sold with the click of a button, the moment of truth still comes when the physical object arrives, when the buyer holds it up to the light, inspects the rim, sees the strike, and feels the weight of history in their hand. That's the heart of collecting. It's not just acquisition, it's connection. And the 1980 penny, far more than most coins, continues to connect people across generations, across locations, across levels of expertise. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist with a safe full of slabbed rarities or a teenager opening a penny roll for the first time, the 1980 penny is accessible to you. It's democratic in the best way. It asks only that you look. That you pay attention. That you wonder what might be hidden in plain sight, and now, more than ever, collectors are turning to technology to expand that search. High-resolution scanners. Digital microscopes. Grading apps. Online communities where new finds are evaluated in minutes. The line between beginner and expert is thinner than it's ever been. With the right tools, a sharp eye, and a little guidance, anyone can become a discoverer. Anyone can be the one who finds the coin that changes the story. That's what the 1980 penny represents. It's not just a collectible. It's an invitation. An invitation to slow down. To learn. To search. And maybe, just maybe, to find something extraordinary in the most unexpected place. Because every legendary coin that's ever sold for life-changing money started as a piece of pocket change. Every $1 million cent was once worth only one. And if history has taught us anything, it's that the difference between trash and treasure is often just a matter of time and attention. You might wonder, after all this, if the $98 million 1980 penny really exists. Is it real? Is it legend? Is it myth, or marketing, or hope disguised as history? The truth is, that number is a symbol. It doesn't represent a known sale. It represents potential. The potential that somewhere out there, just one, 1980 penny exists that breaks the mold. That combines the perfect storm of error, grade, rarity, and story. A coin that, once authenticated, could set the world on fire. And here's the most important part, we may not have found it yet. The most valuable coin from 1980 may still be buried in a drawer, sitting in a forgotten bag, tossed in a dusty jar on a shelf no one's looked at in decades. That is not a fantasy. That is a mathematical probability. With billions of coins minted, it is statistically likely that anomalies exist, undiscovered, undocumented, unnoticed. And all it takes is one person to notice. One person to check. One person to ask, what if? That's what this entire journey is about. Not just money. Not even just history. But the spark that comes when knowledge meets curiosity. That moment when someone realizes they're not just holding a coin, they're holding a story. A question. A possibility. That's what makes coin collecting unlike anything else. It's treasure hunting without a map. It's detective work with real stakes. And the prize isn't just the coin, it's what the coin represents. Memory. Mystery. Mastery. Meaning. So wherever you are, whatever coins you have, whatever stories you've heard, don't stop searching. Don't stop asking. Because even the smallest piece of copper can carry the biggest secret. The 1980 penny is proof of that. It's not about hype. It's not about luck. It's about knowledge. It's about looking twice. And it's about believing that even the most ordinary thing, under the right light, at the right moment, in the right hands, can become legendary, and that, above all else, is the value of the 1980 penny. And now we return to where it all began, with one coin. 1 cent. One object so small, so seemingly insignificant, that millions pass through our hands without a second thought. And yet, in that simplicity, a world exists. A world of history. A world of secrets. A world of potential waiting to be unlocked by someone, anyone, willing to look. The 1981 cent coin is not just a footnote in numismatic history. It's a living artifact. It's still out there, in circulation, in storage, in old boxes and forgotten drawers. It's in your house. It's in your pocket. It's hiding in plain sight, blending in with the ordinary until one person stops to notice something different. A weight that feels off. A shine that hasn't faded. A detail that doesn't match. That's how it starts. That's how the story changes. That's how a simple penny becomes a legend. All it takes is one. 1 cent with a minting error. One that was struck on the wrong planchet. One with a double die, or an inverted mint mark, or a misalignment that tells a deeper story. Maybe it was an experiment. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was the only one. And if it exists, just one, it could rewrite everything. Not just in value, but in meaning. In how we see coins. In how we see value itself, because in the end, the 1980 penny isn't really about copper or cents or catalogs. It's about curiosity. It's about seeing the extraordinary inside the ordinary. It's about realizing that even the most overlooked thing in our lives might contain something priceless. And that's not just about coins. That's about how we live. It's about not rushing past the little things. Not discarding what looks common. Not assuming that just because something has been seen 1,000 times, there's nothing new to discover. The greatest treasures in history have always come from those who chose to look again. To examine. To question. To care. The 1980 penny, in all its unassuming glory, asks us to do the same. And maybe you're watching this thinking, but I'm not a collector. That doesn't matter. You don't need a vault. You don't need a microscope. You don't need decades of experience. You just need awareness. And a willingness to look. To see. To think differently about what's in your hand. Because that's where discovery begins, not with expertise, but with attention. And if you are a collector, if you've searched rolls, read the books, studied the dies, weighed every planchet, then you know what this coin represents. It's a white whale. A phantom. A challenge. It's a test of your skill, your patience, your discipline. It dares you to keep going. To never assume the next coin is worthless. To never let familiarity blind you to possibility, because someone, somewhere, will find it. That coin. That 1 in a billion error. That impossible preservation. That flash of red luster untouched by time. And when they do, the world will know. The price won't matter. The headlines won't matter. What will matter is the story. The search. The fact that someone took the time to see what others ignored. And in doing so, they transformed a penny into something more, into history. Into proof. Into legend.so. The next time you hear a coin clink in your pocket, pause. The next time you dump out a jar of loose change, scan. The next time you come across a 1980 penny, don't just glance. Don't just toss it aside. Stop. Look closer. You might just be holding the key to the next great numismatic discovery. Or maybe something even greater, a story that will outlive you. A moment that will be retold by generations. A coin that will forever carry your name, your find, your mark. It begins now. It begins with you. It begins with 1 cent and it ends with the moment you realize, there's no such thing as just a penny.